Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Se Vuelve Podcast. My name is Monica, and I want to thank you for being here. For this week's episode, I'm going to be sitting down with my friend Aaliyah, and we're actually going to be sharing our online dating horror stories. So please help me welcome Aaliyah. Hi, Aaliyah. Welcome back to Se Vuelve Podcast. How are you today?
Hi, Monica. Thanks for having me back. It's good to be back. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to have you back.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be back. I think it's sweet you asked me to come back.
Of course. So the reason why Aaliyah's kind of back is because after filming our episode, we were kind of talking about kind of like things that happened afterwards that we maybe forgot to mention. And I think I kind of gave you like a little heads up. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about doing like online dating stories. And then you said like, oh, I'm surprised you didn't ask me about what happened in Chicago. And I was like, what do you mean what happened in Chicago? And she was kind of telling me about it. I was like, oh my God, I like remembered. And I was like, oh, I'm like, because originally my plan was to do this episode kind of like by myself. But then when Aaliyah told me that, I was like, I have to have her on. I have to have her come back because I'm like, there's nothing better than having a conversation with somebody and kind of like sharing horror stories, war stories, whatever you want to call it. So that's why she's back for our online dating horror story episode.
Oh, gosh. Could be interesting.
I want to ask you something. Do you remember like when you started online dating?
I do remember because I actually started online dating in Chicago, which is why I
Oh,
remember it well. I'd never touched online dating before that.
yeah.
So funnily enough, when I was there, that's the first time I did it with a little help from my roommates.
With a little push, with a little motivation.
A little motivation because I was completely new to it, very naive. As I said, had never done it before.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, you're in Chicago. You gotta go on some dates." And I was like, "Do I?" I wasn't sure about it, but I did it. Looking back, not sure if it was the best thing to do, just because from
Yeah.
like a safety standpoint, I'm in a whole new country. I'm going on dates, and me and my friends and me and my roommates, we did things to try and make it as safe as possible. They'd be like, "Oh,
Right.
text me this if you're in danger, or let me know the address where you're going to." So we did what we could. But looking back, I'm like, that was pretty risky.
Yeah.
It's bad enough doing it in your own hometown, but like in a whole other country, I'm like, wow, that was quite bold of me, actually.
Yeah. I
So,
think online dating in general is you're it's a risk, right? You're putting yourself
yeah.
out there. It's scary. I started online dating, I think, in like 2010, 2011.
Oh, wow. You're
Yeah,
like
I
a
think I think it was,
novelty online dater. I feel.
I so I think I started to after I dated somebody, like I did like my very first, wow, I'm gonna say this. My very first boyfriend was from like high school, or I knew him from high school.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that relationship kind of did not work, and well, I decided to kind of like put myself out there, and I think that's when I really started, or I started online dating, and that's how I met. I also met somebody that was like became like my second like boyfriend, and yeah, also ended like not well. But after that, I just kind of like took a little bit of a little bit. I think I took a little bit of a break to process things, and then kind of like throughout the years, the last whatever since then, I've been on and off because that world is just like, if I thought it was bad back then, like now it's just it's something else now, so
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
i I just kind of
For sure.
I just started online dating again this year. I don't know. I don't even know why I did it. I think I I hate to say it like that. I think I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna kind of try. I don't. Um, I mostly I'm kind of like a little bit of a homebody unless I'm traveling out somewhere. My job is at the school. Not really meeting a lot of people there, whatever. um, and then I was like, since I am a homebody, I was like, I think I should probably, if I want to meet somebody, try the online dating thing again, and I did. I paid like I don't even know if this is a good online dating. I'm like on Tinder or whatever, right? And I paid for me to be able to like check my matches or whatever, and because I was like, okay, I'm not finding or whatever, or I'm swiping and it's not working out. So I was like, let me see who swiped on me and maybe see if like any connections come from it. But that world is just it's wild. It's just the Wild West out there with dating.
The Wild West. Yeah, it's definitely, even I've seen the changes from when I first went
Mm,
on it, and that was in like 2017 to now. And
yeah,
even that's within a kind of a few years, not very long. And I've noticed like a big difference between then and now.
yeah,
Yeah, it is a bit crazy.
yeah,
I'll leave it there. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's the way most people date nowadays. Because as you
yeah.
said, like the way our lives are now, a lot of people go to work. They don't necessarily have time to meet somebody. So it's like if you, I
Mm,
mean, some people do, or some people do meet their significant other at work. That happens, but otherwise, like that's like the thing people do now, which is just crazy because obviously
yeah.
growing up and remembering, I remember when online dating was brand new to the point where
Mm-hmm.
we didn't even have apps yet. It was like strictly websites online.
Yeah,
And now it's like the norm. It's so much like people are meeting fiancés and
yeah.
husbands, wives on there now. I've known a few people that are getting married and they've met their person, or they are married and they've met their person on Tinder and stuff. So, it's the norm now. But yeah, there's obviously pros and cons to it. It's not for everybody. um I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So tell us a little bit about I guess, like your Chicago online dating horror story. You said you weren't, or the situation wasn't safe. What happened?
Okay, do we want to go straight in with the bad? Because I had two dating experiences in Chicago. I went on two
Okay.
dates. That was it. That's what I could
Mm-hmm.
handle. And I had a good experience and I had a bad one. Um,
Tell us the good. Tell us what was good about it. How did
so
it?
maybe I'll
Yeah.
start with the good so we can lead up to the bad. I'm happy I at least had a good experience, and it was the first date that I went on, thank goodness, as well.
Yeah.
Um, so after my roommates gave me a push to go on a date or whatever, I said, all right, I'll do it. And they set me up on a dating app. They helped me put my profile together, choose some pictures, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. It was scary. And you're just like, ah. And there was this guy that I liked the look of. He seemed cool. His profile was nice. And so I chose him and we ended up meeting up. And he didn't live too far away. Um, and obviously I didn't know Chicago all that well. So it was like, but I think he came, I don't know, I can't remember if we met somewhere like very near. I think we met somewhere near and then went from there. And I
Mm.
remember we met on like a Sunday, which worked for me because I didn't have class the next day. So it was fine. It was a lovely day. The sun was out.
Mm.
We went for like a nice walk. It was kind of, we didn't have anything set in stone to do that day. It was kind of
Okay.
just like we went from place to place. But that was nice
Okay.
for me because I got to see more of Chicago and he was like showing me around. So it was kind of nice. And we went to like a cafe. We went to the mall. We had a walk through the mall. We went to the park. We were going to catch a movie, but because we were like, not on any specific time, I think we'd like missed the showing and it was too late for the next one. So we didn't end up
Okay.
doing that. But it was just very impromptu, very chill. Um, we had a lot to speak about, me being from England and him being from Chicago, but he'd actually been to England as well. So we had that to talk about. So I asked him what he thought of it and what places he went to. And
Yeah.
it was nice. It was actually really nice. I felt comfortable. Um, I don't know if there was necessarily sparks flying kind of thing, but to be honest, that didn't matter. I was just glad that I had a good experience and he was nice, and
Yeah.
we pretty much spent the whole day together. It was actually
Okay.
really nice. Probably one of the best dates I've been on, to be honest. Um, I had a good
What did
time.
he look like? Like, do you remember? Do you remember?
So he was black and he was
Okay.
a little smaller than me. I don't really know how else to describe him. He was good looking. He was all right looking. He
Okay.
was cute. I'd put him in the cute category.
Okay.
I don't really know what else to. I don't know how else to
Was
describe him.
he? Because you didn't see him again, right?
I didn't see him again after that. We kind of kept in contact.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, we exchanged numbers and we exchanged socials, but I think it was always going to be a thing. Like he knew I was coming back to England, so we didn't really have a set plan to meet again anyway. And I think when we did meet, it was sort of, I didn't have that long left in Chicago either by the time we met. But we kept in contact. Like even when I'd come back, we were texting and stuff like that. And when I was leaving, he was like, have a safe flight and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then I remember when I did end up coming back to Chicago to visit, I don't know if it wasn't a year after, I don't think, maybe 2 years later, I'd still had him on socials and I did hit him up like, hey, I'm coming back to Chicago, want to meet. It didn't end up happening, but no, he was nice. He was just a nice guy. We just talked for hours and it was fascinating because, I feel like he had a lot to tell me about his experiences in Chicago and I could tell him about mine in England. So we kind of just flowed off each other and, yeah, so it was nice, and I'm glad I at least had that nice experience to start with before it went horribly wrong. Because, honey, the second date, if we can call it that, it really, if I had started off with that date first, I don't know if I would have went on another one. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't good.
First of all, what app were you using? Was it the one Tinder? Was it the one I mentioned?
It wasn't Tinder. I was so anti-Tinder. Like, even though I wasn't like a dating app novice at that point, I didn't know much about them. I don't know, Tinder just really used to annoy me. So I was like, I don't want to meet anyone from Tinder. So my roommates, this is their recommendation, so I blame them. I'm kidding. They told me, they recommended OkCupid. All right? Say what you want to say. I don't know where it ranks in order of best dating apps. I don't know, but that's the one that I was using, and that's where I met both of these guys. Okay. So I met the second guy from there also, and that's the app I use. I didn't use any other apps, just that one. Okay. And yeah. It was just crazy. The other guy that I met was crazy.
Yeah, I've used a couple different ones. Okay, I'm gonna call it Okay Stupid.
Yeah, that's quite fitting, I think.
I've heard that people call it that. Yeah, it's. I think it's because I think Tinder has kind of like that reputation. That's like for a long time. I had the reputation, and kind of still that it's like the hookup app or whatever, you know. So it kind of makes sense why you kind of
But then I feel like it's
didn't have
funny
to choose
though,
that.
because like I feel like all dating apps feel like hookup apps now.
It does. It kind of does.
You know?
I
So
mean,
I don't even
there's that
know.
option. Yeah.
I don't even know anymore. But yeah, I think at that time Tinder was definitely. I don't even know. I don't even know what was my beef with it like that. I don't know. I don't know if I even thought of it as a hookup app, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like the whole swipe thing. I think at that time I was more like I
Yeah.
want to be able to talk more. I didn't like that way of matchmaking.
Right.
Whereas
Right.
with OK Cupid, you can kind
Look
of
at their
talk a little
profiles,
bit
right?
more. Yeah, like I don't know. I did like it. You can add a lot more to your profile, and I can be quite wordy sometimes, so I like to like actually read profiles and stuff. So it
Yeah,
just
me too. Yeah.
yeah. It was better for me at that time, or so I thought. So
Or so she
yeah,
thought.
so I thought. Well, so the second day I went on, and it's annoying because I would say this guy I was a lot more like. I was a lot more physically attracted to than the first guy.
Okay.
So I was a little bit more drawn to him because of that. His profile didn't have as much, um, but I did just like the look of him a little bit more.
Okay.
So we got talking and whatever, and it was very we didn't talk much, but to be honest, he was giving me some weird vibes before we'd even met, because I do remember I think there was a night when I had went out, I think with my roommates it was with, and he was texting me, and he was like kind of like, where are you kind of thing, I'm gonna come pick you up, you know. And I was like, no. You know, it was and he was quite persistent with it kind of thing. And I was making stuff up, to be honest. I was like, oh, I'm at this place and I wasn't at this place, just to kind of see what he was going to say. And he was kind of like, well, I'm going to come there. And you know, it was sketchy
That's
from
weird.
then.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't believe I even still met up with this guy, because that was already weird. Um, so that was that. He was giving me weird vibes before I'd even met him, as they often do. And then I.
She said, as they often do.
As they often do, the signs are there. The signs are there, people. And yeah, I ended up meeting with him. We talked on the phone and we FaceTimed a few times after that. And I was like, okay, let me meet this guy. And we did end up meeting, and yeah, it wasn't nice. He was just strange. Like, no conversational skills, no nothing. I think, to put it bluntly, like all that was in his mind is, you know what, and
A hookup.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, that's like a sign I should have seen coming, but I
Yeah.
was a lot more naive at that time, and I
Yeah.
didn't
Did
even
he tell
realize.
you? Is that what he, like, his profile,
Nope,
or did he tell you that's what he was looking for?
nope. It was kind of like, even we, like I said, we'd spoken before we'd met up, and we'd
Right.
FaceTimed, and I honestly didn't get that hint at all, and
Right.
that
Right.
discussion hadn't come up. And some guys are like that. Some guys will tell you like that's what they want, but with him it was like nothing like that. So then when we did meet up, not only was it like no conversational skills, but then it's like, you want to just hook up, like, even if that's what I wanted, like,
Right. He wasn't. He wasn't.
even if
He
I
wasn't.
wanted that, it's like, you're not gonna talk, like, hello, like, it was
Oh my gosh.
a wrap. And I was just remember thinking, like, how do I get out of this situation? I want to go home. This sucks. Like, this is not good. He was just very strange. He was I couldn't tell you. He was a strange one, a really strange one.
Was he a student, or was he just like in a, I don't know,
No,
out of college or
he
what?
wasn't a student. He was working. He had a job. I think it was, and he was like quite a big beefy guy too. So he had some sort of
Okay,
security job. I know that for sure. And
got you.
he was quite serious, and I don't think he cracked a smile the whole time I was like with him. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh no, like this ain't it. This ain't it. And I just remember texting my roommates, like, I want to go home. Like,
SOS.
yeah, like, what do I do? What do I say? I need to go. This
Yeah.
sucks. It was weird. It was strange. He made me feel uncomfortable.
Oof.
Mm.
Wow. So, because you were saying he was like not talking, didn't have like communication skills, but obviously he was different like online, right? Like he was, from what it was, it seemed like he was a good communicator, and maybe I guess what was like, what did he think like this date was? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what did he tell you? I don't know if you remember. Like, what did he tell you you were like hanging out for?
To be honest, he didn't. He didn't tell me what we were hanging out for. But like, I guess maybe it's something that's come with, unfortunately, like as you date guys more, you become more attuned to that. Like a lot of guys do just carry that mindset, and you're supposed to be like, oh, this is what he wants. Like, not all guys come out and say, hey, I'm looking for a hookup, or do you know what I mean? So
right.
I think because the first, especially like the first guy that I went on a date with, we didn't have that conversation, but we didn't need to have that conversation because I think it was just down to like where we met up and everything.
Yeah.
We knew that wasn't going to happen, and that's just not where his mind was, and that's not where my mind was. So it was
Right.
we didn't need to have that conversation. Whereas I think with the other guy, I think another thing is where we met up made the difference. Like I think he had that expectation in his head, but I didn't click. Like especially because I was, it was only the second online date I'd ever been on, so I didn't know the game then,
Yeah.
But now I know that if a guy wants to meet you at a certain place, or if he wants to come back to your place, or if he wants you to go to his, that's in the back of their mind. But at the time, I didn't know that. Sounds ridiculous, but I didn't. So I think that it was that.
Right.
Yeah, like as far as, the difference between talking to him before. I mean, I'm not going to say his conversational skills were fantastic before. But he was giving me a little bit more than what he gave in person. Like he was giving nothing in person, nothing. And I was like, this is strange. Like he had more to say when we were like on the phone or FaceTiming, but in person it was weird. It was like he literally expected me to just, I don't know.
That just seems like
it was weird.
It's a whole like personality shift almost, or that's just weird. That's so weird.
Yeah, it was.
It's just weird that
it was strange. He definitely only wanted that, and he wasn't very friendly about it or nothing. He was even trying to like hide it or nothing. I was like, ew, like disgusting. But unfortunately, the fact that I happened to be a little bit more attracted to him as well, that made it all the more disappointing to say like, oh my god, like ew, like. So yeah, that was not cool. That was my very first date fail, online date fail, and yeah, it wasn't cool.
I'm sorry that that's like one of the experiences that you had here in Chicago, and that it was scary. Like it was something that was scary for you, and at least now we know like you're here safe, and hopefully it was a little bit of like a learning experience for you, and now you're like kind of like a little bit more self-aware of what is going on. And because you, like you said, you just like, it's not like you were, that was a new world to you. You weren't online dating, and maybe you weren't even like dating as much, like dating in just in general. So
I wasn't. So it was like literally like completely new to me, and I was in my earlier 20s. I really hadn't had much dating experience at all. So it was definitely a learning curve for me, and reading between the lines of what guys think.
yeah,
Yeah, it was quite the experience to have. I'm just glad at least I had a good one as well, because it would
yeah,
have been really sucky if I had just had that experience,
right,
because
yeah.
yeah, it wasn't
I
cool.
get him. See, when I went to England, I also tried to online date. Um, I mean, I kind of did. I kind of did. I also use okay, Cupid, okay, stupid. So
Okay, good. I
these were
feel better.
these were. I didn't go out with anybody. I did talk to people.
Mhm.
One like thing that I remember. One of the memory or experiences that I remember. I had matched with like a guy, and immediately was like, "Let me go to your place." And I was like, I was like, first of all, I'm not a hookup person.
Right.
Um, and I live with three other individuals. And I was like, no, like that's da 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 da. I kept saying no, and he's just like, he was very persistent. Was like, oh, let me just come to your place and this and that or whatever. And I was more looking like going on dates, right? To go out to go get some food, hang out, whatever. I was kind of looking for those kind of like experiences. And I think just when I was about just like, all right, I kept saying no. He was just like done. It was like I just felt really uncomfortable because I'm like, how? First of all, it's not like he said like let me or come over to mine. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
was like let me go to yours,
Yeah,
and he was so and
just
he was so
inviting himself. Like,
right, exactly, like like pushing that. He was just like very 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 like pushy with that. And then once I was like, kind of said like I don't know what point, but I was just officially no. He just I don't know if he had matched me or if I had matched him or what it was. But from England, I think I talked to you about this. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'm talking about this. My friends know.
okay.
Have my heart where my stomach. My friends know. I connected with somebody or I matched with somebody or whatever, and conversation was back and forth. I think we might have even like exchanged numbers, and we were like voice messaging, and then we like were talking on the phone and stuff, and I should have red flags was like he was like a love bomber. Like I didn't know that word or that phrase back then.
Mhm.
But he was just like saying things and stuff like that. And I don't know, this is kind of sad. Okay. Oh gosh, I feel like there needs to be like maybe like a separate episode, but I've always been that person. I was kind of like, you can say I was like a late bloomer, right? Like I didn't get a boyfriend till after high school,
Me
and
too. Me too.
that stuff. And I was always like, I always kind of looking to have a boyfriend or connect with somebody or whatever. And so I was like, I felt I always was. I guess I didn't have my boundaries and I didn't have that respect for myself at that point, or I was
Mhm.
insecure that like that I didn't know myself, and that's a different version of the version that I am today, right? But going back to him, I remember, we there was one night that like we stayed up all night, and I don't stay up like that. We stayed up like all night talking, and he had to be up kind of like the next morning for work. He had puts. I remember just came up. Um, he like had put like food to cook in a pot, and like a chicken and some vegetables, and like he ended up that's burnt because he fell asleep and stuff like that. Like it so just kind of like having those conversations and stuff. And I had remembered we had like set a date to like meet. I don't remember what the date was or whatever. And I think he was from not Manchester. He was from like further out. Probably like I don't think he was from Birmingham, but it sounded like he was from out somewhere. So I think we were planning to meet kind of like halfway. Like I think we were planning to meet maybe in Birmingham, and um, so he set a date, and I just remember kind of like texting him. This was like after like Thanksgiving, because I talked to him I think on Thanksgiving, and just kind of like texting him and saying, and this is, I'll say this, in the dating world for plus size women, it's hard. It might be even harder for plus size women to date, right? Um, and I'll say that because I always feel like I have certain things that I have to do with my online profile stuff. Like I feel like I have to have a full how do you say this, a picture, like a full body, that's the word I'm trying to use, a full body picture of myself, so that you can tell that I'm plus size. So, and amongst like other things, right? But that's one of the things, it's a full body picture. Like I feel like, so that they know that I'm plus size.
Right.
So I don't think like during that time for that profile I had that photo, but I remember like sending him a text and saying, just kind of saying like, I hope you know, or you are aware, that I'm not skinny. And I don't even know if he replied to it. He like ghosted me. And that was very upsetting to me, because it's like you go from essentially like love bombing and saying all these things to, you know, ghosting me. And I remember at like the Liverpool trip, just kind of talking to my friend Amin about it. Did I ever tell you he like hit me up again? So he ghosted me. And then, you know, I'm in England by myself, like spending the holidays and stuff like that. And funny enough, I kind of talked about it in my like study abroad episode. I talked about how I went to a New Year's Eve party. And then afterwards, when I got home, I showered and stuff. I was like, I think I got in bed. And then he texted me and was like, I think he said like, hey, or whatever. And then I don't remember what it was, but then I was like, I think I might have been like pretending like I didn't have his number or whatever. And I was like, who is this or whatever. And then he once again, I don't know if he was like not sober. He was drunk. Because another red flag I should have caught or whatever, right, was that he was like drinking a lot. Like he drank a lot during when we were like talking and stuff, or whenever we would text or whatever. So he texted me and then ghosted. And then he hit me up again. So that was in January, like I said, New Year's Day. He hit me up when I was back in the US. And it was like in March or whatever. And he like texted me again. And I don't remember if I like oh no, I think I did ask him, and I said, and I was like, what happened or something. And he kind of mentioned, he's like, well, he was like, you're from the US, like da 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 da, like some bullshit. I don't remember now, but it was just, I think at that point, I don't know if I told him like not to text me again or whatever, but it was just, I hate to say it like this. I think it was just heartbreaking. It was upsetting or whatever, because you get excited about like the possibility, if that makes sense, like the possibility of potentially connecting with somebody. I've always been a person that I'm open. I'm open to location. You know, I don't have a problem with like moving, um, somewhere else. Like I love to travel. I'm open to that possibility. So, it, besides that, ghosting is upsetting, and I've had it happen to me maybe like a couple other times, and it's upsetting because you just don't know. Like I wish would people would just have the courage to say like, hey, like in that situation, right? You're from the US. I like you, but I don't think there's anything like I'm like I don't want to continue. That's all
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
to say. Or
yeah.
even in other situations, I'm not feeling this, or I met somebody else, like, you know. So you just don't leave this like open wound of like, or an open of like, what the hell happened, what did I do, what, you know what I mean. So people, please don't ghost. It's so, I know sometimes it's hard, but I think honesty is like the best way, or at least I think it's the best way.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And I mean, first of all, I'm sorry, and I'm just thinking, British boys, British men, count your days. You know, I hate that you had that experience here. I really
Yeah.
do. Um, of course, it can happen anywhere, but like, I
Mm.
just hate that. I hate that you had that experience here. You
He
know,
wasn't even British.
he wasn't British. Okay, I feel a little better. Where was he from?
He was from, I think he was Polish. Yeah. Yeah, he was,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
he was like working there, you know.
He was
So
looking at. Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm not defending Polish men. I don't know. Get it together, Polish men. What the hell? Um,
Yeah.
but no, I think that just like it's a shitty experience. And what you said about ghosting, I do hate that it's become somewhat the norm as adults as
Yeah.
well. Like people would rather do that than just say. And then I've heard people, you know, counter argue it with, oh, I don't want to hurt that person's feelings, but you're kind of going to do that anyway if you ghost
Anyway.
them.
Yeah.
Like the truth might hurt or it might not, but I think like if you give someone the truth, it might hurt them, but you feel better as a person because you've told them. And even if that person is hurt for a little bit, they're going to feel better because they're going to have some clarity of like, okay, well, this is how they
Right.
felt. But when you don't know at all, it leaves too much room, especially if you're an overthinker.
Yeah.
It leaves too much room for you to wonder, well, what was it? Or like, you know, and then you feel like, well, they couldn't even tell me. Like, it's not nice. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing to do. And I think that, you know, we're in a world now where we have so many different ways to communicate with each other. There's just no
Yeah.
excuse. Like,
There
so
isn't.
yeah, I think it's shitty. It's shitty. I see arguments about that sometimes on social
Yeah.
media. I see like on Twitter, for example, I've seen viral tweets about ghosting, and then I've seen viral tweets counter arguing it like, well, you know, you're a shitty person if you do it kind of thing. I'm definitely more on the side of like anti-ghosting. I just think like just tell people.
Yeah.
Just say. You don't have to be. I think sometimes people struggle because they think that you have to be rude. Like some
Right.
people think to tell someone the truth means you have to be rude. You don't even have to necessarily go into a lot of detail. You can just say like, you know, I'm not feeling it, or it's simple as that. It doesn't have to be like a super blunt, super rude response or anything. It doesn't take much just to put someone's mind at ease. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know, there are people out there that do that,
Yeah.
and it's just shitty. It's
Yeah.
just a shitty thing, really. Do you know what I mean? I do think there are times when it's justified, and I think it's justified when it's like if someone's genuinely making you feel uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
you've assessed the situation, you think I don't even, you know, you just gotta use a bit of discernment. I think like if someone makes you feel really uncomfortable and you think, I don't want to continue a conversation with this person for my safety or that kind of
Right.
thing, then yeah. Do you know what I mean? I do think there are times when, you know, it is justified. But I'd say,
Yeah.
generally speaking, if it's just a thing where like you're not feeling the person, or you're not attracted to them, or there's a nice way of putting things to say, oh, I'm not interested, kind of thing, and then you just move on, But
Right. Right. Yeah.
unfortunately, it's become the norm. But you know what? Like, you sharing your story has made me want to be a little bit more vulnerable with mine, because I don't know, you've given me the strength to want to do that.
Yeah.
Because obviously I spoke about my bad experience. I kind of made a joke of it, but there were instances of that date that weren't funny, actually. And I think, at the end of the day, this podcast is to help people.
Yeah.
We do want entertainment and everything, but there are things that are uncomfortable to talk about, and I think because you've been vulnerable, it's only right that I do so as well.
Yeah.
Um, it can be hard to talk about it, because it's just like, even though I didn't do it's weird, because even though I didn't do anything wrong in the situation, you feel kind of like weirded out by it, or uncomfortable
Right.
about it. You think, I'm not the one that should feel uncomfortable. If anything, it should be that person. But I did mention earlier that, that person clearly wanted to hook up.
Mm-hmm.
But they were quite persistent about it in a way that was making me feel uncomfortable. And, given that I was, naive as well, that's another reason, like, all jokes aside, I was kind of like, how do I get out of this situation? Because what if he turns out to be a weirdo? I'm
Right.
alone with this guy. Already probably wasn't the best situation meeting with him, but it's like, okay, so now I'm with this guy. What if he got really forceful? What if I ended up in a very uncomfortable situation? What would I do? That's where my mind was headed in the situation, to be completely
Yeah.
honest. Luckily, thank goodness, it didn't get that far. But there were times when it was like he would keep kind of pestering me to go down that route, and I was like, dude, no. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So that was my first time experiencing a guy being persistent in that sense. And obviously it wasn't nice, it wasn't comfortable. Luckily I was able to leave the situation and nothing happened. But he did kind of try, like, he did kind of try to even like play fight with me, quote quote.
Mm.
This is what I mean. It's like by far the worst date, if we can even call it that, I've ever been on. He was just
Yeah.
very like crossing boundaries with me. And looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I was in that situation. And like I said, this guy was a big guy. Like,
Right.
it could have got really ugly. He was a big guy. He was like a lot stronger than me, a lot taller than me. So there was an instance in this quote quote play fighting that we were doing. I was having to physically kind of push him. I'm a skinny little thing. So I don't know where this strength came from, but I was like, okay, no, like, this isn't funny. And yes, this is like, I guess, play fighting, but like, I don't want to do this with you. I didn't ask to do this. You shouldn't actually be touching me at all.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just thankful I was able to get myself out of that situation. And it is one of those situations where you do feel confused after it. You think, wait a minute, what just happened? And then, when you talk about it through with your girlfriends, you realize that was actually really bad. Or like,
Yeah, that was not
crosses
okay.
on the line. Yeah, it borders on the line of creepy. You know what I mean? Like, going into that territory. So I felt like I wanted to be a little bit more transparent about that, because you were a lot more transparent and vulnerable about
Yeah.
your dating experience, and I felt like it was only right to do the same, because I didn't really divulge into that part of it before.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like the two dating experiences I had, it was like the difference between night and day. I had such a
Wow.
good experience, and the other one was really, really bad. So yeah, definitely. It literally, as I'm talking about it now, there's a feeling in my stomach. You know what I mean? That's how horrible it was. but I just wanted to share it because a lot of women, a lot of girls can end up in that situation, never talk about it, and think, when you're in your body and your mind, like
Yeah.
that wasn't right, or that stepped a line, across the line for me. But you don't necessarily talk about it, or but then you think to yourself, actually, that wasn't right, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, for anybody that might be listening, any woman that might be listening, just to know that you're not alone in that, and just to know that it isn't right. Like, if you don't want to do something and your answer's no, the answer's no. And that's it.
Yeah.
Nobody should be trying to force you. Nobody should be trying to get you to change your mind. Nothing like that. That's a no, no, no. Like, no joking. That's a no.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just, and for any guys that are listening as well, because I do think I would like to hope that guys listening to this podcast would know, but for the benefit of the doubt, it's like, come on, come on, come on, dudes. You know what I mean? Like, if a
Yeah.
girl says no, she says no, and that's it. I don't care
I,
how annoyed you are.
yeah, this week on like a TikTok, I heard somebody say no is like a full sentence. No,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and I exactly what Aaliyah said is exactly why. Even though some of these episodes that at least for this month that I've been doing, or even instances in some of the episodes come off as funny, comedic, whatever. I've
yeah,
always said it's like important for me to share stories because
yeah,
of exactly how you said. It's like you never know who's experienced that, or if or maybe in the future somebody experiences that. Like, hopefully these stories either you learn, you grow, or even just feel like you related to it. This is why I do this podcast. For me, there's been a couple instances as well. One of the instances was that this was back in the US. I was online dating, and I think at the time I kind of matched up with like two guys, or yeah, and one of the guys, we were talking or whatever, and kind of stopped talking. So I kind of continued to like talk with the other person, and that the other person was like a hot ass mess, right? And he was, he was, and then the guy that had kind of stopped talking, all of a sudden decided to come back and like talk. And I just kind of told him, I was like, oh, like, okay. I'm like, I just want to let you know I kind of connected to somebody else or whatever. And this guy was like, kind of like very persistent and uncomfortable. Like, and we had exchanged numbers. And
mm-hmm.
key now, one of the things, if anybody, because funny enough, some of the guys that are I match with, I tell them that I do a podcast. So if they're ever listening to this podcast, this is the reason why I don't give up my number anymore. I gave this person my number, and all of a sudden, right, I would see him all over like my social media pages as a recommended person. So on Facebook, he would pop up. And of course, I had like, I think at that point, I don't know if I still do, I had my phone number attached to my Facebook or connected with my Facebook or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I saw him, I blocked him. Same thing on like IG, and I don't even know what other social media platforms. So on Facebook, all of a sudden, I saw another profile of his. It was like he was creating like profiles to almost like seek me out. And I got really uncomfortable because this guy was like studying to be a cop or something. I don't remember now exactly. And I live in a certain town. He lives like the next town over than me. So I was like so worried that because he was, like I said, trying to be a cop and stuff, he was gonna come find me, because obviously you're able to use resources to like to look you up. So I just remember like having that situation throughout. I remember him like texting me really randomly and was like dissing American women. He was just like, this, I don't know, something, I don't remember exactly what it was. And he's like, this is what I'm going to move to Germany and this and that. And I don't remember. It was like a whole thing. And like I said, he really scared me because of and I think even still this day, if I looked on my Facebook, not that I use it like that anymore, I really don't. His like 3 or 4 or 5 profiles that he created are like blocked because he just made me that uncomfortable that I'm like, why does all these keep like popping up? And I, even now that I'm still like on like the dating app or on that dating app, I saw him again. Like I saw his profile and I immediately went in and I blocked him. And I was like, yeah, because it's a scary and uncomfortable thing out there. And mind you, I didn't even I didn't meet up with this guy. All I did was like probably texted with him, and that's it. And I don't even think it even went that deep because, like I said, I was talking to 2 people.
Yeah.
He kind of fell off. I was like connecting more with the other guy or whatever, and then he just decided to pop back up, and he was just like, "Oh, it's because I stopped because like one of my close friends like died or committed suicide. I don't remember what it was." And he was just trying to be very like persistent. I think because you know what? I think we were supposed to. I think we were supposed to like go to dinner or something, and it just did. And like I said, he fell off the face of the earth to say it like that, and we ended up not going out.
Mm-hmm.
And like good thing because if he was that like clingy and that weird or whatever, and I wasn't even dating him, like I can't even imagine like what would pursue from that.
It's just crazy. The people that you can meet on dating apps. I'm sure so many women have so many different horror stories. I've heard all kinds, kinds, all sorts of things because you're only really getting a preview of a person, and you just don't know what their intentions are because not everyone is so forthcoming. Some people are, and I appreciate the ones that are because you can make an informed decision, based on that. But then, not everyone's forthcoming about what they want or what their intentions are. So
the thing is that people put like on his profile or whatever, people put like the best versions of themselves out there. You know what I mean? Like they just put whatever, these nice photos, this whatever things for a little bit are like surface, on the surface. And it's not until you really get to spend time with somebody, dig a little deeper, that you get to like you learn about these individuals,
which I guess is just the premise of dating anyway. Not something I'd necessarily specifically blame on online dating because I think it's always going to be like that. Like you won't know a person until you've spent more time with them, but of course, meeting someone in person, it's unmatched. That's when you can obviously pick up on a lot more things. Then there's the eye contact, there's just vibrations that you pick up on someone,
the energy,
the energy, the behavior. Like you can't hide behind a screen anymore, so meeting someone in person definitely it's just the best thing. And obviously that's what those apps are designed to do in the end. Like you're supposed to eventually meet and then go from there. But yeah, it is still crazy how people can come off completely different online, and some people really do play up to that, like really do. And that's why you have all kinds of things like catfishing and this and this.
Oh my gosh,
and all these
I have stories.
All these other issues that arise from it because people really do take advantage of that. So it is honestly a crazy world. I'm just glad I can say that like that one, it's unfortunate that I had that experience in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. I mean, it still would have been like shitty if it happened here, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a
Yeah.
shame to have had it there. Because it's like one thing I kind of associate with my stay there, unfortunately.
Oh,
But I know, but it's whatever. You know,
yeah.
I have to remember that I met a good guy as well.
Would you say that those experiences maybe stopped you from using the online dating apps any further?
To be honest, not completely, but I was put off a little bit for sure. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
think in my mind, I didn't put it down to the apps as such. It was more just the person that I met.
Okay.
So it definitely made me a bit cautious. Just to know what more to look out for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like you live and you learn. It's one of those. So
Right.
I mean, when I went back to England, I didn't date again for a while. But I don't think I don't put that down to that experience. It was more just like I was back at university and I
Mm-hmm.
literally just didn't have time for that. And as I said,
Yeah.
it was like a novelty thing I did when I was in Chicago. I wasn't really focused on dating per se in that time in my life, but it was
Yeah.
just a thing I tried. I wasn't like even really trying to date. It was just something I just tried it, you know, because my
Yeah.
roommate, you know, gave me the courage to. But yeah, it made me cautious. So then when I did go back on them, some time after, I would say maybe like almost a year after, I'd say, I was just a little bit more cautious of the kind of guys that are out there or what their intentions are, or getting used to certain signs. Like that whole thing of like hooking up was
Yeah.
like a newish concept to me. Like guys just expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not all guys, but there's unfortunately a lot of guys who do just want that, and they won't. It's that thing of not saying it. So I became aware because of how he was. I became aware of, well, some guys aren't going to say it. What signs do I need to look out for? You almost have to be a bit of a mind reader, and I think
Yeah.
that's built in, which is crazy. But I think
It's
that's built
crazy.
into,
It's so crazy to me.
it's crazy, and it's built into a lot of women now, because now we almost, for us that are still dating or still single, we kind of like half expect that now from guys, because we've had those experiences in the past. Like, oh
Yeah.
well. So that's where that comes from.
Right.
But it's something I had to learn, because I just wasn't akin to it, like, at all. So yeah, it's horrible. It just leaves such a bad taste in your mouth. It's horrible to like have such a just nasty experience, basically, and
Right.
then, you know, from it you kind of learn things from it, and it makes you cautious, and you know. But yeah, definitely by far the worst experience I've had. I'm happy I haven't had a repeat of anything like that or anything close to it, and I hope I never do. But yeah, it's just something to look out for. It's just something to be aware of. There's just weirdos out there, man. There's
Right.
some weird
You have to
guys
be
out there.
careful. You kind of mentioned like catfishing. Did you ever experience that?
I I don't know why I'm laughing, because it's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I did, and
Oh my gosh.
I'm I'm laughing because I kind of entertained it. This was fairly more recently, though.
Oh. Okay.
So it was like I was a lot more aware. I'm a bit more of a dating app novice now, so I wasn't completely naive or anything, or didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a profile that wasn't verified, because I know a lot of these apps have that now, like the verification.
Yeah, the verification. Mm-hmm.
You know, so this profile wasn't verified, but I was swiping through. This was on Tinder, which I do think that Tinder does have a lot of, maybe because it has a big user database and it's more prone to it, but there's a lot of catfishing stuff going on the app. It's a bit weird. And there was this profile that was clearly like not verified, and it had pictures of this like super attractive guy. So you already know it's like, this ain't the person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But me being me, I think I was just bored. And like I was talking to this person, and the pictures they used, it was like this super attractive white guy that was probably could have been like a model or something.
Okay.
And I'm talking to this guy, I'm talking to them out of sheer boredom. I'm trying to remember the conversation really. I don't even know, man. We were just talking about random stuff, and I just remember the person was like, "Oh, so does that mean you like white men?" kind of thing. And even that alone is like,
Red flag.
yeah, like why?
Like a little alert.
I'm just like, let me unmatch this person. Like, fun's over. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what made me do it. I think I just wanted to see like what they were gonna say.
How far? Yeah.
Yeah, or like what they're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
But there's people I know that who are a lot more naive, or like they don't know much about. They're not as in tune with like social media and apps and stuff. So they did get catfished for real. Yeah, because they don't. It's because they don't know.
They weren't aware of it. Yeah.
You know, and I've known people to it actually happened to, and that's when it's like a lot less funny because obviously they're a lot more vulnerable and they don't know any better.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you really gotta be so careful out here.
Do you remember when this guy was catfishing me and I reached out to you about it? Do you remember that experience?
I think so. Hold on. Remind me of the details.
So here's the details. I matched with somebody on, I think it was OKC. And you know what? This guy, the pictures, this guy wasn't even my type. So I don't even, because it makes me angry because my brother was like, I told my brother that this like person catfished me or was catfishing. And my brother was like, oh, it's because he's like, I'm like, that is that guy. I was just giving him a chance. I don't even know why I typed like right or whatever on this person. Or, and I gave him my number. Oh my gosh. I gave him my number. And I don't know why I gave him my number. I think I might still have the text messages. Oh, I think I do. And I'm the type of person that like, you know, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything, I'll answer it. I guess that's just like my I don't give a F like personality sometimes. And so I gave him so we were like texting and stuff, and I don't know why I decided to like check his photos or whatever. I call this segment Spot and Stop a Catfish. Like, because you're able to look up their photos and kind of reverse image search it, so they're able to. And the thing is, it's like this one I think was really hard to find because he ended up picking like a photo of a man from like a European country that was like a bodybuilder kind of, you know. So I ended up finding this person, the actual person, and his wife. And I told him like, hey, like this person's like impersonating you, da 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 da, because he sent me a picture, and the guy was like this European guy with hair, and then the photo he sent me was of this bald guy, and I'm like, and then facial, everything was different. He's like, yeah, and he even said like, yeah, I think I look completely different. We're gonna pull up the text, people. I sent him a photo of me, and I was like, this is me without any makeup or whatever. And he said, I look much different than my OKC profile pics because they are older pics. I said, how old are they? He said, almost 10 years. I said, okay, have you not taken any recent photos? And he sent me a photo, the recent photo. And that's when he said, I took this today when I was at the roof of the hotel. And he says, I know it's scary. It's not, I said, it's not that it's scary. I don't think a person should be judged based on their looks. I said, it's a little misleading, and it's, and that upsets me. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I understand if you don't want to talk anymore. And he's like, I really know how to screw up a good thing. I'm sorry. I'll leave you alone. And I told him, I was like, I did nothing but be honest with you. sorry, but please delete my number and do not contact me. So where you come in is because when I looked up the images, I ended up looking up his phone number on Facebook. I found his profile, and on his profile, he was married. And he was married, and he had kids, and I think his wife had recently like given birth to a fresh tiny baby. And I remember kind of like talking to you about it because I didn't know what to do. Like, this was a couple years back in whenever this was, 2019, early 2019, and I had never ever like experienced something like that where I caught somebody, and mind you, he had my phone number. So then I got scared because I'm like, if I was able to find him through that or whatever, what if he finds me, comes after me? Because I think I asked, I was like, should I like reach out to his like wife or whatever and say like, hey, like,
did you?
No, I didn't. Because I think I asked you if, or I don't know how it came up, but you were like, what if I write the wife, or I write, and I was just like, I was scared. Like, I was scared. I'm like, what if he comes after me,
But you said that you messaged the guy he was catfishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a response from that guy?
Yeah.
You did?
No, I got a response back, I think, from the wife first. The wife saw, because I think he was like a known bodybuilder in like Europe, but obviously there wasn't a lot of information on our side. I literally was like, it was barely where I was able to find that he was a catfish. It was like, it was so sneaky. Like, I think he picked photos that were like not from his like IG or anything. It was like, I don't know. It was really weird. Like, the situation was really weird that I was lucky that I ended up finding he was actually catfishing.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy the lengths like people will go to as well.
It's crazy. I can't even believe I have those texts. I literally, you know what? I saved this information so that I could, for this podcast, because I knew that one day, I had a list of podcast ideas that I wanted to talk about, and I knew that I'm like, this is gonna like come in handy. And today was the first day that I've gone back and I've read through that. But that was, like I said, that also was like another weird, uncomfortable experience. The thing was that came from that was that I reported him, and he kept creating profiles. He kept creating profiles with the same photos, his same phone number. I became a detective. I kept seeing him, like, I literally reported him, and I ended up emailing back and forth with the OKC people, and they were like, we're blocking his, whatever it's called. I can't think of the, on your computer, whatever. Yes, that. Yeah. They're like, we're completely blocking the email. We're completely, if he tries to like, whatever, he's not going to be, hopefully he was not able to create that again. That was, I think, maybe like my first like catfishing experience with that. And then from that, I think I was able to continue. There was another one, but this one was just kind of like messages back and forth on OKC. I said, hey, I'm sorry, I've been busy. How's it going? He's like, that's all right. I thought you text me, so I wasn't really getting on anyways. Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize you sent it. I'm not around my phone at the moment, so I'll ask while I'm on here. I was like, what are your deal breakers and pet peeves? And he was like, liars, deceivers, cheats, and shallow-minded people. I'm not that picky, laugh out loud. And I was like, oh. I said, that's interesting that you said that. And he's like, why, what's that? Why is that? I've been hurt by all the above in my last relationship, so I'm just covering all the base. And I just said, I'm like, because those are some of my deal breakers as well. I can't stand dishonest people. That's a big deal breaker. And I think I might have like reported him after that, but what was funny was that I found the guy on IG and I DM'd him and I said, "Hi, someone is impersonating you on a dating website." And I sent him like kind of like the photo, and he said, "This is his text," and it was so funny, and that's why I saved it. He said, "Omnivore, doesn't smoke weed, heavy drinker, Gemini, straight. I'm offended." He said, "Anyway, thanks for telling me. Could you report them?" And I literally said, "This is like probably the best response ever." And I said, "That's the plan." And I said, "He provided me with his phone number." So I said the little emoji. And he said, "I hope he gets banned. We don't want him scamming people." I think those were like my two catfishing stories that I've experienced. One was funny, one was like not so funny.
Right.
And I think that's what, to be honest, that's what kind of for a while is like I stopped. I was like I think I stopped like online dating for like a little while after that, because I was just kind of like, I'm done with this.
That would put anybody off. I think one thing that I saw that was crazy is I saw someone with a catfish profile of somebody I knew or had met. Now that's weird because, but it's like, so I come across the dating profile and
Okay.
picture of this guy that I knew I had met. I don't talk to this guy anymore, so it was a bit awkward. But it was like,
Okay.
I know that's not the guy. I know that's not who. I know it's not him, basically. So he had like a whole other name, but he was using this guy's pictures, and I was like, it's even weirder when you see someone doing that and it's someone you know. And I was thinking, like, should I like reach out to this person? I don't even have contact with them anymore, but I probably could have found them through socials just to let them know, like, hey, like, are you aware that someone's using your profile pics? Do you know what I mean? And I think that could be happening to any of us who have, like, you know, our pictures on public on social media.
Oh my gosh.
No, the thought of it's horrible, but it really hit me because that's what I mean. This guy, I don't even know if he has like loads of followers like that, but from what I remember, because we don't follow each other anymore or anything, but I just know that obviously someone's like taken those pictures. I'm sure they come off his Instagram, put it on a dating profile, and is now pretending. And I think I messaged that person and said, you know, you should be ashamed of who you are, because I know that you're not that person. And I think I did report the page through the dating app.
Yeah.
But I didn't reach out to the person he was trying to be. But that was weird. That was weird to come across. I'm like, it's actually mad what people will do. It's crazy what people will do on there. I've come across all kinds of weird stuff, and you think, yeah, it puts anybody off really when you see stuff like that, because I'm like, damn.
It just, I think it's, the thing is, it's like, it's sad. It's, like I said, it's like the dating world is already hard enough.
You do have to be cautious. I mean, I do think I am generally on the side of dating apps stuff. Like, I do think there's more cons that come with it than pros. I don't want it to be like all doom and gloom for people, because like I said, there are people that I know personally who have met their significant others on there. I you know, there is some luck involved with dating. I don't think people like to say that, but there is luck involved in it. You know, it's just how it is for some people. But so there are good things that can come from it, but as I said, I do think like there's kind of more cons. There's more things that you have to look out for. Catfishing, this, that, the other, you know, and it does make it difficult for what is kind of already can be difficult on its own. So I just think that
exactly,
you know, people definitely, if you're gonna use them, it's not the, you know, I think they're only meant to be like a tool, you know, to do something like you don't usually have time to do if you're busy at work, or if you're one of those people that kind of go to work and come home, you don't get out much. It's a good tool to kind of see what's out there and kind of like meet somebody, but then obviously the aim is to get off the app and meet that person in person. But you do have to use your discernment. You know, you do have to get clued up on things look for signs. Some people are unfortunately a lot more susceptible to it,
Yeah.
to things. There's all sorts. That's why you have all these like series now about catfishing and scammers, and
Yeah.
there's all sorts going on. You just have to really, just as I said, use discernment and just be cautious. Get a second opinion from a friend or something if you're not sure.
Do a reverse image search. I think you can go on Google and just type in reverse image search. So then Google has one. You clicked on the little camera, it pulls up your album, and then you're able to click it in and it like search to see. It's a scary world out there, and you have to be careful. You do.
Yeah,
You have to be careful.
For sure.
To kind of wrap things up, the reason why I decided to do this episode is because I wanted to share these stories, and because these things happen in our lives or people's lives, and sometimes we're not aware of them. If you hadn't heard it from Aaliyah and both myself, I always say, like, this is why it's so important, even though it can be scary, to share your stories. It can help people. Aaliyah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. Thank you so much for your courage and for being vulnerable and for putting trust in this space, in this conversation, to share your experience.
Of course. Thanks for having me, and thank you for sharing your experience as well, because it honestly gave me just a bit more courage to open up more about mine, because I wasn't sure if I was going to go there, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's how
Right.
uncomfortable it still makes me feel. But then I thought, what? Monica's been vulnerable with me, and with everybody, and I thought it's only right if I do the same. And that's like the purpose of your podcast as well. So
Yeah.
I was like, what, screw it, let me do it. And it's kind of the first time I've spoken about it in an open space like this. So I just thought it was important to do so, given, the point of your podcast. So yeah, 100%, definitely. 100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aaliyah.
Thank you.
As always, I just want to say thank you to anyone who tunes in to listen. I would appreciate if you could leave a review and would let me know what information resonated with you. Please follow and share on social media. The pages are at Se Vuelve Podcast, or my personal's at Se Vuelve Monica. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Nos vemos pronto. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.